Hey guys, welcome to the Welding Business Journals podcast, where our podcasts are late but our bids are on time. I'm your host Kevin with JMW Fabrication. Today we've got episode number 2 with Matt Stout from Stout Customs. If you haven't checked out episode number 1, go back, check that out, because nobody likes starting from the middle of a conversation. If you haven't checked out his stuff, you can find him on Instagram at Matt_stunt. You can find his boonie bike at Stout_boonies. You can find his custom metalwork at Stout Customs. You can find us at the podcast at Welding Business Owners Podcast. You can find me at JMW Fabrication. And if you enjoy this podcast, go on your podcast player and give us a 5-star review. It really helps us out with other people to find us. So, here's episode number 2 with Matt from Stout Customs. We're actually still working through a job where the architectural drawings, it's a switchback stair going from a basement to a garden. And it shows this beautiful curved stair stringer. And I get there and it's 12-inch junior channel squared off on everything. I'm like, oh, this isn't at all what the drawings say. And they want this rounded, beautiful handrail on it and everything like that. I'm like, you're not going to work. Like, you need to pass code with this. And I can't, put an 8-inch radius on this 90-degree channel corner.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not going to pass code.
You're going to float it out there.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they're like, well, somebody said an option. We're actually going through this right now. So they had one fabricator come in and they built these stairs at a channel. They put clip angles in there for because it called out for 1/8 or 3/16 perforated steel treads. Bent, it would look cool. It would let light in. That's what the customer wanted. So they put the clip angles on. Well, they had an idea that they wanted something a little bit more cost effective because perforated 3/16 steel is not cheap. It's not cheap. It's just not.
Right.
And then they were talking about stainless steel perforated. Mm-hmm. I was like, you guys have no idea what kind of monetary numbers you're throwing around right now. And then they're like, well, how about subway grading? And I'm like, okay, subway grading, but your clips are already in. I'm like, you're talking about putting an 1/8 inch on top of a clip or 1.5 inches on top of a clip. Like, that doesn't work. Like, I have to redesign the entire steps with this. They're like, well, they're looking for a more budget conscious number. And I'm like, do you have understand how much it costs to have the 8 people that are on site right now discussing this right now? I'm like, no, stop it. Like, this is what you wanted. And I told them in front of the customer, I'm like, look, to have everybody here right now, you're not saving any money by trying to go in a more budget conscious direction. Mm-hmm. The only more budget conscious direction you have is diamond plate steel that we bend over. Like, that's the only cheaper you're going to get. Mm-hmm. And that is the look you're not going for. So let's just stop this right where it's at. This is what the most practical way to go about even remotely getting to your vision is right now. So let's just go that route. Mm-hmm. And I almost had to coach them into making the logical decision of oh, you know what? You're right. Let's just stick with that. Mm-hmm. And that's just part of our job sometimes is to coach them into what they want because we know what they want. Mm-hmm. We know what's going to be the best and the best product to fit their vision and their price point. And they're going off on tangents and you have to kind of rein them back in and be like, okay, hold on. Let's stop this email chain. Let's all hop on a call tomorrow. Yeah. And I'm going to explain this out in 15 minutes so we're all on the same page instead of emailing for another week.
And I don't know why it becomes a standoff in that way. I want to give you stairs that the light shines through and that don't freeze up in the winter. And I want them to look awesome. Mm-hmm. You need to trust me on how to get here.
Yeah.
And you've hired me for a reason.
Yep.
Yeah. And the beauty of that is when you do build those relationships and the people do believe that you're the guy, then that relationship can really do some awesome things.
You can say, trust me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like because this is the second time we're working with this client, I have to just ballpark numbers in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
But like eventually they turn into a customer where you're like, you know what? I know what you're looking for. This is the way to go. I understand it.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm telling you, this is the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
And they just trust you and go with it.
Yep.
But it takes a while to get there.
Yeah, no. Sometimes you got to take a couple bullets to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So you said that whole learning curve of getting into the architectural space and just kind of like what we all do, like fake it till you make it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What are some of the things that you do now that you learned from previously? Like you were saying how, you know, like they almost kind of like bullied you into things. They're like, hey kid, this isn't how it works. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you do now to help like shorten up those emails and mitigate that time frame and kind of like nudge them in the direction? Like, what do you do? And what have you learned from that experience?
So there are a lot of hard no's in this world. So one, I got a request recently for some nickel-plated aluminum mirror frames. Say that again to yourself. Nickel-plated aluminum mirror. Okay. And what size are the mirror frames and what are they made out of? Aluminum angle. Okay. All right. So we're going to make a frame out of aluminum angle and we're going to send it to a plater and they're going to plate it in nickel. And then whether it's polished nickel or brushed nickel, it doesn't matter to us because we just need to make the aluminum frames and do a really good job.
Yeah.
And I said right there, I will decline the project if we insist on making these aluminum mirror frames to have them nickel plated. I would use stainless steel. Mm-hmm. It's going in a bathroom. It's in a medicine cabinet. Now, your plater is not going to want to plate this finish over steel because of rust issues with the steam of the bathroom. So they gravitate toward aluminum. Aluminum's a terrible material to work with when it's dainty, delicate mirror frames. We can say that, you know, there's a great welder anywhere. There's 8 million great welders in the world who can say that they can weld a 3/4 inch, 1/8 inch thick aluminum angle and make the corner perfect and make the weld hold up. We know. But it's not as good a material as stainless steel for this application. Mm-hmm. Can we agree on that? When we take weld aluminum, we grind it off. It gets a little gummy. It's still got this really shitty little... even if you do a full pen weld on both sides and you're the best TIG welder in the world, it's still not as strong a weld as stainless steel mitered and beveled back and TIG welded together and then ground smooth. Mm-hmm. We can go on all the Facebook pages and argue this, but stainless steel is
I did this back in Nam. What are you talking about?
Right. So I'm like, no, you're not saving any money. I mean, it's 50 pounds of material.
Yeah.
Or it's 50 pounds of stainless steel or, 20 pounds of aluminum. Do the cost analysis on that material.
Yep.
And then whatever. So the hard roadblocks really help you out. And this is why. I won't do this job in aluminum. That's really silly. Who spec'd aluminum on this? Well, they said that you could do it, and the plater said that he could plate the aluminum. And then one of my joints has a little bit of porosity in it that we don't see because the aluminum is welding like aluminum welds, and then it comes out in the plating, and then he goes, well, your welder fucked up because he welded this thing like shit. But you gave me 1/8 inch thick aluminum. This is a real example of a real lesson that I learned. I actually refused the job initially. Someone else did the job. The thing came back. The parts were literally falling apart. Same scenario. Small angle iron. These were door frames for cabinets. Same exact scenario. Small aluminum angle, welded and nickel plated. I'm like, can we just make these out of stainless steel? And they're like, well, we went with aluminum. I'm like, and look at the result you got. We ended up doing the job again. So now we're round 2 on the job. They threw out the other person's work. We did it out of stainless steel and everybody was happy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I gave you the long answer to that, but you need to learn your experience and just don't get yourself in a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And that's been I've been in some rabbit holes that have cost me a lot of money. One time we were called in to do a feature panel in an office building lobby. And it was 16-foot tall stainless steel bars. There was like 40 of them that went 16 feet tall. 1/2 inch thick, 3-inch wide stainless steel flat bar, number 4 brush polish on all faces, and these bars stood vertical. Let's say there was 50 of them going vertical. So it's just a giant sculpture that's supposed to look like, and they were spaced on end like 4 inches apart, and they had to be perfectly straight. They were 16 feet fucking high.
Yeah.
There was a plate on the bottom and a plate on the top.
That's it.
And that was all you get. Make this sculpture. All right, well, I guess, you know. So I called stainless steel company.
Yeah.
I need 16-foot long stainless steel bars, 3 inches thick, and I need to get them polished, number 4 finish. Okay. No problem. We're going to send it to the polishing company. But it's really, really important that these bars stay super. Got the quote for the material. At the time, it was like $5,000 for all these bars, and polished and everything or whatever. Bid the job. It's our job. We got it. We're going to create this amazing sculpture that is. We're all excited about it. Big job, lots of work, good money, like good. So anybody who has purchased stainless steel in bar configuration knows that you cannot buy stainless steel true bar in anything longer than 12-foot lengths. Mm-hmm. All the bar we're getting is sheared and edged. Can you polish, number 4 polish, a sheared and edged bar 16 feet long? Sure. How straight and perfect is that bar going to be when you're done polishing it? Probably not.
I don't know.
Straight. Probably not straight enough for this sculpture where you're seeing the 1/2 inch of it going straight up to the ceiling. Perfectly perfect. Do you think there's any forgiveness there? I mean, if one of them's an 1/8 inch off, you're going to see it go just banana. Mm-hmm. You know? So they start polishing this. And I'm like, hey, it's really, really important that these bars are really straight. And they're like, well, this ain't working. I'm like, well, that's a problem. Yeah, no, I mean, it says right here, tolerance is such and such. I'm like, so what do I do now? Do I get true bar? 1/2 inch by 3 true bar. Number 4 polish on all sides. Then it's straight. Well, how straight is true bar? Am I going to have to straighten each one of these things? And then butt weld the true bar? 12-foot, butt weld 4-foot arm? Yeah. And then blend that out? That's going to look like shit. Yeah. Like, that's nearly impossible. That's not going to happen. So, the solution was they water jetted it out of 8x20 plates. They water jetted the 16-foot long strips out of 8x20 by 1/2 inch thick 304 stainless steel. The water jet obviously introduced no heat. Yeah. Huge nice water jet. Yeah. And it was $15,000. Holy cow. For the material. Oh, man. Yeah. So you had to eat that. Yeah. Damn. Party on, brother. Wow. The sculpture looks so fucking sick when it was done. I bet it did. Yeah, it was so top notch. And we pulled it off, you know. Yeah. After weeks of kicking and screaming. Like, I'm ready to call the stainless steel salesman and go to his house and throw rocks. Yeah. You know what I mean? But really, what can I do? I ordered shear and edge bar with a tolerance. And that's it. With a tolerance. That's a killer. Yeah. Man. So, like, you gotta pay attention to this stuff. And how was I supposed to know? Right. Experience. Did you, like, tension any of them to help keep them flat? Or were they just flat enough that you didn't have to, like, tension to keep them flat? Oh, when we welded them? No, like when you installed them. So we made a plate on the ceiling, a plate on the floor. We drilled and tapped the ends for mechanical fasteners. No, we did not. We drilled and tapped a spreader plate. So the bars went up in pairs. Okay. So the spreader plate was at the very top and the very bottom. That received a bolt that went to the ceiling plate and the floor plate. Mm. We straightened all the bars before. They had like a little curl to them. I got really, really good. Even Shane says, when I get a 20-foot piece of bar and turn it from like with a slight bow across the whole thing to dead straight, Shane's like, how do you do that? And I'm like, dude, you just
it's art.
A bit at a time.
It's art.
It's art.
It really is.
So yeah, I straightened every piece by hand, all 50 of them. Got all straightened by hand with the clamps and the workbench, and straightened them all by hand. Welded the little spreader plate. There was a little bit of weld deflection, and we got creative with the clamps and the blocks to get that deflection out of there. And I prefer like laying things flat on the bench. Give them a little wiggle, see where they want to relax, and then they stood up and they were good.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's awesome. Except for the losing boatload of money.
We lost a little bit on it, but it came out really, really cool. I'll go on another little one here. We in my early years of understanding the architectural world. Hey Matt, we're in a little bit of a pinch on this job. Would you be interested in helping us out with some installation? Yeah. Of course. I mean, what do you mean? All right, cool. We made there's these doors that we need hung. I'm like, yeah, cool, no problem. Yeah, like some custom metal doors. We had actually one of our other metal vendors make them, but they're running short on installation. Would you be interested in coming in, coming to the thing and installing these doors? I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, I don't see a problem. Yeah, cool. You're just gonna have to drill and tap for the hinges and that type of stuff, because the custom jam and it all gets installed on site. Yeah. So I'll bring my tap set, no big deal. Like I still didn't know what spiral point taps were at the time, and, and I'm telling you, and I mention these things because this is as self-taught as you can get, and I believe that you're the same way. Exactly the same way. So I still was using a Home Depot tap set. Yeah. And I walk onto this $1 billion condo complex on the west side of Manhattan. They're like, all right, we're going to show you the doors. All right. Get my hard hat. Get my drug test. Get my safety training. I'm on site. I have my certificate of insurance submitted. I'm a big subcontractor. And here we go. And I'm going to be the guy that's going to install these doors. All right, cool. 25-year-old Matt. Here he comes. Walk in there, they're like, all right, yeah, we'll show you the door jams. They take me to where you would put a garage door, like your 14-foot garage doors that you can pull a semi in. Mm-hmm. They're like, this is the one jam, and I'm like, oh, all right. You're just kind of playing it cool. Yeah, show me the next one. This is the other one, similar size opening. Yeah, 14-foot high. 10-foot wide, for a garage door. And I'm like, okay, yeah. So here's the drawings. And these doors were single pane glass doors. They were 4 panes wide, 6 panes tall, all 2x2 square tube. Really, really well made. Amazing doors with glass in them and everything. Mm-hmm. They were pivot doors. They pivot on the center at the top and the center at the bottom. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yep. Here you go. Here you go, buddy. And I'm like, and here I go.
Where's your machine?
Well, I'm the metal guy. I got to figure out how to do this. And they hand me a box of $2,000 worth of pivot hardware with an automatic closer and all this shit. And they're like, here you go. Hang the door. And I'm like, well, are you kidding me? So they installed a header, a really robust, a structural header for this giant door. The thing was 12 feet wide, 14 feet tall, and it pivot in the center. So, when you go to walk through one door, one end comes at you and the other one goes away. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to pull, you can pull. But you're literally pulling it 6 feet out toward you.
To open it.
To open it.
Yeah.
And then you walk through this giant opening. And, dude, it's like a magical, it's insane. So, I'm like, all right. And they're like, yeah, you got to install that. See this little thingy here? That's got to go up there. And I'm like, how am I going to measure that? Where do you want me to, like, hold on. So, like, I have a little bit of a freak out on site. I'm like, you're telling me that you need me to put that thing in the perfect fucking spot all the way up there? And I only get one try? Because we're drilling and tapping the thing into the 1/2-inch thick header. You know, it was probably like an 8-inch square tube, 1/2-inch wall that they installed. Yeah. 2 years ago.
There's no drilling another hole in that one.
Right. Yeah, and this thing was installed like when the concrete columns of the building went up. Yeah. And they're just like, yeah, no wonder they didn't drill and tap it in the shop, because they had no idea what was coming. They were just installing a giant header here.
Their install guys are sitting back at the shop being like, oh, that poor sucker.
Yeah. So we're like, I don't even know if we can get this thing in the building. Delivery shows up. I install the hinges per the drawing. You know, and started by installing the bottom one and shot a plumb laser up and got my perfect point and checked it and drilled a little hole and referenced and measured, and we got there. Yeah. So delivery shows up. We figure out how to get this massive door in the building. The biggest door you've ever seen. And we all get it in there, and we stand it up, and I'm like, oh my God. I cannot believe this is about to either work or not work. And we pulled it open, and it was just like butter. And it was like, holy crap.
Well, those are the times where you make a name for yourself. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you came in clutch because you got them out of the bind, and you just nailed it. You just nailed it. Like, nobody knew you were actually, like, really freaking out. Oh. Like you're just like, yeah, I got this. Meanwhile, you're on Google like, oh, shoot, what do I do here? You know what I mean? Like,
totally. And these things aren't on Google. Like, Google's all watered down with, like, you know, Pinterest stuff and how to do a sliding closet door. Like, you can't just Google pivot door install. No. If you're lucky, you might come across some instruction booklet, but, like,
you're gonna find, I mean, like you said, Pinterest.
Yeah. I mean, it's all watered down. That's the type of stuff that kind of put us on the map. We built some relationships, and now we get a front row seat in how the stuff goes on. You know? Yeah. And it's, you know, built us a lot of opportunities and a lot of relationships through this. I mean, I haven't advertised at all since I tried to start the business. And when I say try to start the business, because all I was doing was thinking that I was going to have a business at one time. I didn't really have a business. When I was 20, I didn't have a welding business. I just said that I did. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, like, it was like, you know, I had an ad in the Penny Power, which is our local. For any of our listeners around the world, we have a very small local paper that all the old people read. Yeah. And I'd get a couple calls a week, and it was like, oh, our picture frame has a defective hook on the back of it. Could you weld it? And you're like, I can't weld that. I drove all the way out here for this. So you quickly learn, you know, kind of what's for you and what's not. But that landed me a seat and built me some relationships that, you know, keep us going. And then those lead to more and more and more, and finding a vendor that can understand the need and provide is, they almost need us, and I don't mean this in a cocky way or anything like that. They need us more than we need them in a way. Yeah. And I don't want that to come across wrong at all. But if you have a high-end architectural project, who are we going to get to do the bronze bar top that has to ship to Chicago in 5 weeks? Who's making that thing? Because we don't have anybody right now. Yep. Oh, call Matt. Okay. Yeah. We can do it. You know, if I ran out of work, it'd be, who's got a tractor that I need to repair? People would be like, me, you know? So when I say that, that's the type of thing that I mean. Yeah. So.
How many contractors do you work with in the city? And how did you get that work that came? Like, obviously, it probably fell into your plate the first time. Mm-hmm. But how do you keep cultivating new work and new clients?
When they inquire, you just provide.
Okay.
Yep. Hey, you want to bid on this? Yep. Even if you can't take on any more work, you got to throw them a bid. When you know that it's lucrative, I am very guilty of, hey, I have a handrail down the street, need you to take a look at it. Yeah, like I'll come down. Like I'm the worst with being like, yeah, in the next couple of weeks I'll make my way down there and maybe we could get you figured out. I'm really not good at that. Because I know those things are sort of outside of our niche, I'm not all over it because we're not the world's best handrail manufacturer. And we don't really want to be, and we're not geared toward that. So when it's something really within our wheelhouse, we just keep those relationships alive. And the demand is extreme. Really? So when the work pops up, it's there, and then and then it goes up the flagpole. Like maybe it's not the glass guy who needs a metal frame for his glass, but he tells the contractor, the general contractor on site.
Yeah.
And you got to understand, there's 100 of those general contractors in all the cities.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just as lucky to find you and open that relationship as you are to find them. In the same way that you hear, I can't cut somebody to come out and build these stairs on time. You're like, yeah, you got to meet my buddy Kevin.
Yeah.
He built stairs in 3 weeks. Done. They would kill for a relationship like that.
Yeah.
So I work on those relationships, and that's how I've channeled our vein.
And you've really got that niche where there's not many people to go to for that kind of stuff.
You can't Google welder and expect to order a bronze countertop in 5 weeks. Fair enough?
Yeah, exactly.
I need to finish my website. My website's been under fabrication since like 2015.
But you don't.
I need to finish that. Yeah, like I really should. But the phone doesn't stop ringing, and I don't really get a day off. Although I take enough days off. But I work hard to get those days. I work hard to work on those days.
What do you see the growth of Stout Customs being over the next couple of years? Because it kind of seems like you've almost, like, because you have such a niche, you need such niche team members.
That is the most challenging thing.
Yeah.
So I've taught all of my team members our niche.
Okay.
Or I'm currently teaching. I have one who's Shane. He's a really good welder fabricator. He's been with me for 6 or 7 years now. So he understands what we do. Now I still pull all the strings behind the curtains.
Yeah.
Not that I'm hiding anything, but I'm still working, and I use the term spoon feeding. I'm still spoon feeding Shane work because my job is to make sure that Shane has a job, right? So along with the other team members. Now the others, they're still learning what we do. The one girl she's been with us a year and a half now. Taught her how to run the water jet for nothing. She'll like filter out some of the emails and be like, oh, this person's got a very unique issue on the nickel-plated mirror frame.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, yeah, let's work through this. And let me explain to you why this is so important that we get this sample submitted, and it's got to be right. That's the most challenging thing. There's a very, very small labor pool of people that have worked in this specific vein. A lot of people get burned out of it. A lot of people just don't, I'm like, all right, what's next? I'm like, when do I not have to send 8,000 emails to build one mirror frame?
Yeah.
And I'm over here building a mirror frame and not answering the email. So then they're pissed off. I'm like, well, your thing's done. It's beautiful. Sorry, I was in the shop. I didn't get to your email right away. Is this going to work? Oh, you're the best.
Yep.
But it's so hard. Now I have a vision where I can platter this work up for my team and then give it to them in bite-sized fabrication pieces.
Okay.
So that has been my job for the last 3 years. Here you go. Weld these brackets. TIG weld, nicey nice. Sand it to 320 at the, Like when we talk like pristine, we're taking cold rolled plate and then sanding it from 120 all the way up to 320 and then doing an antique finish on top with a clear coat.
Wow.
So we took a $100 sheet of steel and added 12 hours of labor to one piece.
Just one.
And that's just a flat sheet, you know what I mean? So we want to do a whole desk and make the whole desk look like that, you know.
Wow.
It's just a wild ride.
Right.
You know.
What do you think was the hardest thing for you to learn in business?
The hardest thing that I'm still learning right now is that you have to just maintain momentum. When I let off the gas, we lose money. And I'm really starting to chew on that in the last couple of years. You know, when I'm not feeding my team or plattering the work up or saying, well, it's a slow day, or if I want to be lazy one day and not show up to work, like you bet I got 4 people that are punched in making the same amount that they were going to make if they were producing.
Yeah.
But they're not producing. So my battle every day is the consistency. That's my battle. I guess that's more of a life lesson and a self-growth thing as opposed to a business, you know, the hardest thing that I had to learn in business.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the hardest things that I had to learn in business was boundaries. You know, and setting boundaries for relationships, and if these are my tools, and I don't mind if you use them, but don't ever take them away from the shop. But then they took my tools out of the shop. Now I'm mad about the tools. So instead of producing work, I'm now mad about my tools are in the parking lot.
Yeah.
But I asked Shane not to take my tools out of the shop, and he should bring his own tools to work. That has been a, you know.
Yeah.
I could just, you know. But now if those boundaries were set that you need to bring your own tools to the job because my tools are over there in my locked toolbox.
Yep.
That's a healthy boundary. And then I wouldn't have wasted a week's worth of brain capacity being pissed off that my pliers were in the parking lot. You know. Or maybe I had a chart in my shop that said, clean up the tools at the end of the day. And we're still working on that with attendance and all those things. So probably another more of a life lesson. Yeah. The boundaries thing, but I guess it's all the same. I mean,
I think it is the same.
If it helps you stay focused, if it helps your business, it's all the same shit.
Yeah. You know, learning experiences. Learning experience, whether it relates to you personal or, I mean, a lot of the personal does relate over to the business. You know. Yeah. Well, that's it for episode number 2 with Matt Stout from Stout Customs. If you want to see the kind of stuff that he does, you can follow the links that I put in the intro of this. You can find all his stuff on there. You can find us on Instagram too. I appreciate you guys. Leave us a 5-star review if you can. And until next time, get out there, get it done, and get it in, boys.